Hi, and welcome back to Purple Car Life. In today's video, we're going to find out how long does one 40-pound bag of wood pellets last in our pellet stove. I'm actually filming another video outside, but Mackenzie hollered out and said, "Dad, the pellet stove's out of pellets." So, a lot of people have been asking, how long does 40 pounds of pellets last in a wood stove? So we're going to do an experiment today. The stove is totally empty, and this is just 40 pounds of our favorite wood pellets. These are Agway brand premium hardwood pellet fuel. This is what we found in our experience burns the longest and has the least amount of ash after burning. We did a video before about pellet stoves versus wood stoves and the advantages and disadvantages of each. I'll put a link to that video up above. But you saw when I poured that out, there's a lot of wood dust that comes into the room here. And definitely dust is one of the disadvantages of a pellet stove. Okay, so all we put in there, one 40-pound bag. I'm going to show you the settings that we have on our Harman P68 stove. And the current time is 3:50 p.m. We'll see how long this one bag of pellets lasts. So here's our settings. We typically use the room temperature of about 70 degrees. Now that's not a perfect temperature. We do have this little temperature guy that tells the stove what the room temperature is. Obviously the higher you hang it, the warmer the room is. If you lay it on the floor along the baseboard, it's going to be the coldest possible. We just lay it on top of this little spider noise thing. So we're at 70, we'll turn the room temperature to about medium, and our feed rate is clear down between 2 and 3. So we don't feed pellets very fast. It's not necessary to keep this part of the house warm. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. Like I said, it's 350 right now. It's going to start feeding pellets. You can see the display tells us that we are feeding, and I'll keep you posted on how long this burns. So you can see we are the daytime, and you can see the time there, 3:54 p.m. on a Saturday. Current room temperature is 67 degrees, which is about where we like it. If it dropped much below that, the electric baseboard heaters would kick on, but the pellet stove heats this room without using electric. So the current time is about 9:38 p.m., so almost 6 hours of burn time. The hopper is still pretty full. I'll show you a clip, but we haven't used very much of the pellets. Now the temperature today wasn't super cold. It was in the low 30s. It's actually 30 degrees right now. The temperature in the room has come up a couple degrees, but a couple things helping that out are the pellet stove, and I've got a fire going in the wood stove in the basement, but that heat doesn't usually get to this area, so it may help a little bit, but not a lot. So I'm actually going to turn this off for the night. We'll keep track that it's been 6 hours, and then we'll turn it on again tomorrow and add more time on tomorrow. We don't burn the pellet stove overnight usually. We go ahead and turn it off, let this room cool down for the nighttime. Jennifer and Mackenzie have been home, and Jennifer says she likes, I told her I think it's embarrassing to even say this, she likes the temperature here to reflect 74 degrees with the pellet stove.
Because the thermostat's right beside the pellet stove. And so in the great room here, it's usually about 3 or 4 degrees colder on the other side of the great room of whatever the thermostat says.
Yes.
So 74 on the thermostat usually means about 69, 70 in the rest of the room.
Comfortable. So another thing I wanted to mention while I'm here, in our pellet stove versus wood stove video, we showed the cathedral ceiling in this house. It's about 16 feet. And we also showed we've got a big 6-foot fan at the top. And some people ask, why don't we use that fan to help push the heat down? And what I discovered with the fan was if you turn the fan on in regular rotation, it creates a draft down. So you'd think it would blow the heat down, but it actually just feels chilly, as if you were sitting under a fan. Someone left a comment, try reversing the fan. I've actually done that a couple times so far this winter, and it works really good. So it pulls the cooler air up, which forces the heated air down along the ceiling and then across the wall. So that was a great tip. Thank you for that comment. Excellent way to use that fan in the wintertime. It's currently 70 degrees. Jennifer turned the fire back on at 9 o'clock this morning here on the pellet stove. and it kicks on and off throughout the day as it needs to. We're still on that original 40-pound bag. You can see it just reignited here. And the current temperature is 70 degrees. So it'll do that throughout the day. You can see it's 5 o'clock tonight. And here's an update of the hopper. It's making its way down. But like I said, still on that original 40 pounds. I'll keep you posted how much longer it lasts with the room at 70. 9:28 p.m. You can see the pellet stove is not currently feeding pellets because we are at or above 70. So we are now looking at that much in the hopper. This is 30 hours later. Now remember, we did turn the pellet stove off last night, and we are going to do the same thing tonight. Now it actually does feed for about a half an hour pellets as it shuts down. So each day at the end of the day, I just turn this knob over to off. And you can see at some point during the day today, Jennifer got chilly, so she turned the temperature up. I'm going to take it back down to 70. We'll continue this little experiment tomorrow, but there we are so far. 2 days that we've been burning that same 40-pound bag. Well, I actually started this video about 3 weeks ago, and in that initial test, the burn time was over 15 hours for one 40-pound bag of pellets. Now I'll explain to you why that is, but I'll also talk to you about why I wanted to do the test a couple more times. Because it's hard to get an accurate use or burn time out of pellets unless you burn them straight through. And the problem with that first bag was it wasn't cold enough. The pellet stove was turning off and on as necessary. It's pretty automated, which is a nice thing about a pellet stove. But the bad thing is, at nighttime, we don't burn our pellet stove. So I'd turn it off, and then I'd have to try to track the hours. There's some burn down time that I counted. Then there's some startup time that I counted. So, you know, over 14 or 15 hours on a bag of pellets isn't super realistic if you're burning the fire solid. Now, what I've found in the several weeks since then, I've burned through multiple bags of pellets and track the amount of time. Burning solid, I've had times that ranged from about 9 hours to 12 hours. So the particular bag that just finished yesterday was about a 12-hour burn straight time. Now the outside temperature, hi Alice, the outside temperature was in the 30s, low 30s, so that also affects how frequently it feeds pellets. You saw in the start of the video, I showed you the feed rate of the pellets and the temperature we set the stove to. But the outside temperature and then the room temperature and the thermostat determine how frequently it's feeding pellets at those rates. So that's why there's a discrepancy in application between number of hours used, and I wanted to run this test several times. So I'd say on the coldest days of winter, and you're burning this solid, plan on 7 to 9 hours of burn time. On a 30-degree winter day, plan on somewhere around 10 to 12 hours of burn time. Again, depending on how insulated the space is, how large the space is that you're heating. I'm heating a 20 by 40 space that has a 16-foot peak cathedral ceiling. It's well insulated, but it is a large space to heat with the Harman pellet stove. So like I said, everyone's experience will differ based on their environment, where they are physically on the globe, and then the insulation and size of the room that they're in. But you can figure roughly around 8 to 12 hours, that's what I figure, per 40-pound bag of hardwood pellets. Hopefully this video informed and entertained you. If so, we'd appreciate if you give us a thumbs up down below. Helps out the video and helps out the channel. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again the next time. Thanks for joining us today, Alice. It was nice of you. You're not camera shy, are you? No. You're a good kitty.